everybody! I'm here today to show you how I created this feature wall for under $100. That's right, I made this entire feature wall, including the paint color that you see right there, for under $100. And that's in Canadian pricing because I live in Canada. Let's get right into the video. First and foremost, I decided which wall. Well, my wife decided, not me, okay? This is all her thinking. I just actually did it. But she told me what she wanted it to look like. So we decided that we wanted this wall, because this is the master bedroom in our house. We wanted this wall behind the bed over here to be the feature wall, okay? Secondly, she told me that she wanted a box pattern. So she wanted me to create this box pattern. So what I did was very simple. I drew out the design on paper first, okay? So as you can see right here, these boards right here are 3.5-inch boards. I believe they are, I want to say they're 1/2 inch thick. I could be wrong about that, but I know that they're 3.5-inch boards, okay? So what I did was I first measured the entire wall. I drew that blank wall on a piece of paper. There's a plug over here, so I actually put the plug on the piece of paper as well. I drew in the plug so I knew where it would be, okay? Now I knew that we wanted an outline of those 3.5-inch boards. There is a beam over here. Well, it's not a beam. It's just an extra piece that juts in there to cover the old blinds, where the old blinds were back in the day. I ignored that. I pretended that that piece wasn't there, okay? So what I did was I went with the outline around the wall. And I knew that I was going to have those. Wow, there's a really loud car outside. Wonder what it is. It sounds like maybe a Porsche. Or something really powerful, but it's okay. It's all good. So I went with the outline with the 3.5-inch boards. I drew the outline in. And I knew that with the entire width of the wall, that meant that there was 3.5 inches less on that side and 3.5 inches less on that side. I said to my wife, how many gaps do you want on the wall? She told me the number of gaps that she wanted. Okay, I figured out the math, considering the number of gaps that you wanted, vertical gaps I'm talking about, okay, including the 3.5-inch boards over there. And then once I had that number, I knew that they were, let's say just for the sake of argument, 24 inches apart. I made sure that it wasn't going to interfere with the plug. And then with these horizontal ones, I just made them 24 inches to make it look like a box. If you look carefully on the bottom over here, the bottom box is much shorter than the rest, because no one's going to look down there, so it doesn't have to be perfectly even. All that matters is that all of your upper boxes are the same size. Now, here's another quick little tip. It's okay if you mess with the numbers a little bit, meaning if one side, I believe on both sides, they're like 1/2 inch not as wide. They're 1/2 inch more narrow on either side. Nobody's going to notice that. So once you've drawn out your design on paper, what you're going to do is you're going to go and get your boards. Like I said, I think these are 1/2 inch thick, but they're definitely 3.5 inch wide, 3.5 inches wide. Sorry about that. All of the vertical ones are individual boards. This ceiling is approximately almost 8 feet tall, minus the baseboard, okay? All of the vertical ones are full boards, and all of the outline perimeter are full boards. These little pieces here are just little pieces between each of them, okay? So once you have your measurement on paper and you're drawing on paper, you're gonna go get your boards. Basically, the way that I held these on the wall was I nailed them in using a nailer, and I put some construction adhesive on the back, because I didn't want us to be sleeping and then one of the pieces of wood falls down on our bed or on our head or anything like that. So with each of these, after I drew it out, I measured and I nailed, and I also glued them onto the wall, okay? Now, wherever you can hit a stud, you definitely want to hit a stud. So I marked off on the wall where the studs were, and I tried as much as possible to nail into the studs. Wherever I was putting up a piece of wood or a piece of board that didn't go into a stud, I glued the living daylights out of it on the back. And I put extra nails, but I glued it to make sure it's not going to come off. Listen, buy the more expensive construction adhesive. Don't cheap out on your construction glue, because the last thing you want is for this to come off, okay? Or to come loose, and it's just not good. Okay, so once I nailed and I glued all of the boards on there. It didn't look like this. There was lots of nail gaps. There was lots of gaps between the boards. I went with caulking. You can also use wood filler. It all depends on what you want to do. I went with caulking, and I put the caulking over every single nail hole and every single gap on there. Then I went with a wet towel. Immediately after I put the caulking on a hole or a couple of holes in a row, I would go with the wet towel and I would wipe off the excess. That filled in the nail holes. And if you get a nice thick paint, a nice high quality paint, then it's going to cover up a lot of the holes as well. So it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be almost perfect with the wood filler or caulking. You can make it perfect, that's fine. But the paint is going to cover a lot of it. Once I had finished and I let the caulking dry, about 24 hours later, it probably doesn't need 24 hours, but I left it because I was exhausted from the day of working and I really wanted to spend some more time with my kids for that day. I went and we put and this is the key here, we put a flat black paint on here. I don't know what the color was. It's like charcoal something, charcoal midnight sky, I don't know, something like that. You know, one of those cool names. But anyways, it's a flat black paint, okay? I told my wife, listen, it's not charcoal. Well, you can call it whatever you want, but the paint is pretty much like a really dark gray, okay? Almost a black color. And the reason why you want to use a flat paint on an accent wall that's dark like this is because you're not going to see any of the imperfections, number one. And also, when you have these raised boards, if you use a gloss or a semi-gloss or even an eggshell, you're going to see lots of shadowing on the boards, lots of flashing and shining on the boards, and you don't want that. You want it to look uniform, okay? So if you use a flat or even a matte paint color on there, it's going to look uniform. And as you can see, there's a little bit of shining over there, but that's because the window is right over there and the light is shining brightly. But on a regular basis, it's pretty much as matte looking as can be, okay? Full disclosure, we might have used matte instead of flat. I can't remember. But one or the other, you're good to go. This might be matte. Maybe that's why there's that bit of shining right there, right now. But that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, the wood was about $70 worth, okay? The wood and the nails, and the glue. So like all of the construction side of it was about 70 bucks Canadian. Buy in bulk if you can. I always buy like the 10-pack of wood. And I almost use exactly the amount that I needed from the bulk package that I bought. I just go to your local hardware store, check it out. And then the paint was less than 30 bucks. So all of it was under 100 bucks Canadian. So if you're in the US or anywhere else where your dollar is higher, then that's even better for you. It's going to be even less money. But that's it. That is how I created this feature wall for under 100 bucks. I will say the majority of the work is in the preparation. You want to make sure you measure everything, mark off any plug, any phone outlet, anything that's on the wall at all. Make sure you measure at least 3 times and make sure you calculate everything at least 3 times before you put it on, because what you don't want to do is put the boards on. This almost happened to me. I almost scared myself. You don't want to put the boards on and you get to like halfway through and you're like, oh wait, but this doesn't make sense. Like the numbers don't make sense. I started putting the boards on and I was like, wait, I thought I made a mistake, and those are already glued and nailed down. It was, you know, I was scared. I was more scared like what's gonna happen when my wife sees this horrible job. I'm kidding. She wouldn't even care. But anyways, it worked out. That's the main thing. It worked out. But that's basically it. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.